Hey, it's time for another update already. If you've been following along, by the way, with my unplugged videos, I've been posting them on my own YouTube channel. That said, I think it makes more sense to post them on the main Toolpath channel. So like and subscribe to this main channel. That's where I'll post all of these update videos. My goal is to post them in the form of what's coming, not what's new. I think it's more respectful to you to show you what you're about to have change in the user experience instead of having to adapt to that change in real time. So we'll post these ahead of time. With that said, some of what's in this video is actually updated in the last video, and I just missed it. There was more changing than I remembered to talk about. So a little bit of this video is going to be what's coming in this week, and some of this video will be what dropped last week. With that said, it's centered around the stock and the deviate and notify features. What you're seeing right now are areas of this model that aren't machinable with my given library. I've drawn some excessive exaggerations of the kinds of problems we see sometimes. So one of those challenges is the lack of an internal radius in a place that likely we could round the corner. Another example is a bit of a step in geometry that happens sometime, and I've exaggerated these. Of course, and then there's this Z shape that I've seen sometimes. I'd love to know why CAD does that sometimes, but sometimes we get weird imported CAD geometry that produces a bit of a Z or a Z shape, depending on if I'm speaking through my native Canadian or my now Native American tongue. So what I'm going to do is show how we can control what's a deviation versus a hard no. As an example, this drilled hole is shown as a deviation where we've simply identified that the cone angle is not the same as your drill, but in this case it's pretty obvious that it's a drilled feature, but we're notifying it in case we are wrong. What I want to do is show how we can use the tolerances to capture some of the other bits. Now these are, again, and they are exaggerated, but we're going to use that to make a point. Another neat little thing, we've got 4 setups right now because the system had to try real hard to get some of these features given the poor geometry, and you'll see it'll drop to 2 setups when we recalculate. But with that said, I'm just going to click my name. I'll click Preferences. On the Preferences tab, you're going to see the user preferences. Those are ones that you have access to right now. The minor deviation says anything below this number, we just fix it. So it should stay a pretty small number. I'm going to make it 10,000 for now because that's the amount of deviation that's necessary to update that wide corner without the radius, just so you can see how these tolerances work. The major deviation I'm going to set to 100,000, and that's what's going to be required to be within the window to capture and deviate the step in the Z shape. So I'll update that. We can look at the stock preferences too. This is a super interesting one where in the stock preferences, we can define how much oversized we want the stock to be, maybe 20 thousandths of an inch. And I'll do the same thing in all dimensions. So we can set all those to 20 thousandths of an inch and say that's what I want my stock to be. We don't want these funny numbers. In the X distance, it's probably what I'm going to saw cut it in the X distance. So I'll make that a 1/16 of an inch. And then in the Y and Z distances, it's likely that would be bar stock, so let's make that 1/8 of an inch. And finally, how much do we want to hold on to the part? So maybe I'll make that 1/4 of an inch. So what you can see here is we've given the ability to automatically create that bounding box. You know that bounding box gets pulled into Fusion and round it to bar stock in some dimensions, cut it in other dimensions. This is a feature I'm personally pretty happy with. So I go back to my part. Another little thing that's there, but you can recalculate now. So whether you've changed your cutting configuration information or the stock or the defaults, it's going to run that calculation again and get us a new result based on the new parameters. So as I said, we're now seeing 2 deviations, and we're deviating on these sides. The deviation has come across the Z shape because that was less than 100,000 necessary, and this step was less than 100,000 necessary. We're not listing this other step as a deviation here because it was less than 10,000. So that minor deviation was just done by the system automatically. I'm not suggesting you should set it to 10,000. I just did that to give you an example of how this works. As we think about some other minor improvements that are super important though for all of us, we can use the home button. And as we look at the stock, we can now see that we've rounded in the length to the nearest 16th of an inch. And in the X and Y or X and Z dimensions, we've rounded to 1/8 inch to be standard size bar stock. So I hope those updates are helpful and you appreciate the continued improvement. We'll see you again soon when we've got more to show. Cheers.